I've always said that, the thing about the phrase I use to describe us is we are the storytelling animal.
Yeah.
We're the only creature on the earth that does this weird thing.
Do you remember writing this paragraph?
I kind of remember it.
Do you remember the high that you got from it? Do you remember thinking, this is good?
Yeah, there are some moments when you feel that.
Yeah.
I've always remembered, there's a scene in Shakespeare in Love in which Shakespeare is writing what we afterwards discover to be Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
And he's sitting at his desk, and then he gets up and spins around and claps his fingers and he says, God, I'm good. and it raised the question for me, this is Tom Stoppard writing,
Right.
Did Shakespeare know he was Shakespeare?
Of course he did.
And I think he must have done,
Yeah.
because you can't write that stuff.
Have you ever spun up from your table and
No,
said, God, I'm good?
no.
No, baloney.
No, I mean, there have been little moments when I thought, okay, that's good, don't touch it.
Come on, you didn't stand up on your desk and do a little,
Well,
shimmy.
I remember the opening paragraph of Midnight Children. I remember writing that and thinking, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, yeah,
And don't touch it.
right,
Leave it exactly as it is.
yeah.
And that happens a few times, but it doesn't happen often enough.
But
if you feel
a few
that
times is enough, because
Yeah.
for most writers it doesn't even happen once.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been most writers.
Right. But Salman, writers get asked where we are now, and you know, to comment on what's going on, and can these things be healed and everything. So where are we now? Where are we?
Well, we're in the shit. I mean, the last story in the 11th Hour is a story actually I wrote some years ago called The Old Man in the Piazza.
Yeah, it's a great story.
And it's about this. It's sort of, in a way, I wrote it before things were as bad as they are. Mm-hmm. But even then, I was writing about a world in which divisions amongst us have become so deep and so wide that we can't hear each other talk. That
Right.
even if we're speaking the same language, we don't understand what we're saying to each other.
Right.
And one man's truth is another person's fake news.
Right.
That you can't agree on, when you can't agree on what is the case. When you can't even do that, you can't say, this is what it is, and now let's see if we agree or disagree about it. If you can't even agree on what is the case, then you're in bad trouble. And I think we're in bad trouble.
Right, okay. So if we're in bad trouble, that's fair enough, because you and I have talked before about that Gramsci notion of being a pessimist of the intellect and optimist of the will.
Yeah.
Right? So you have these two different things. You can embrace the pessimism and the darkness, or is it possible to be an optimist of the will, to vault away from the darkness? So I'm really interested in you right now as a potential optimist for our time after all the shit that you've gone through.
Well, I think I'm cursed with optimism.
Good.
I think of it, I mean, there's a wonderful, I've forgotten the name of the writer now, Habibi, I think, Palestinian writer.
Habibi, yeah, the Pez Optimist.
The Pez Optimist.
Yeah.
I think Pez Optimism is a very good worldview.
Yeah. To be a Pez Optimist.
To be simultaneously.
Yeah. But he had to be a Palestinian to say that.
Yeah, to be simultaneously pessimistic and optimistic.
Yeah.
And
But the whole thing was going on. It's a part of 20th century philosophy, but some of the Adorno were talking about, all these people were talking about it. But to be a pessimist of the intellect, and then an optimist of the will, it seems to me that to be a proper optimist, you have to be a very good pessimist first.
yeah, well, it's not hard. It's not hard to be a pessimist right now.
Right. So that's true.
I think anybody can.
So
do it.
you be a pessimist, but how can you be an optimist out of the pessimism?
Well, one of the things I would say is that before I was a fiction writer, I was a student of history. That was my university subject. And one of the things that the study of history teaches us is that history doesn't run on tram lines. History is not inevitable.
Right.
Things can change very fast. I've always thought there's that wonderful collection of stories by Grace Paley called Enormous Changes at the Last Minute. And I think that's what history is like, that, enormous changes at the last minute.
Beautiful.
You know, if we were sitting here at this date in 1989, and I was to say to you, the Soviet Union will not exist by Christmas, you'd have thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was the day after Christmas when the wall fell. And I know there's somebody trying to put the Soviet Union back together again, but that's another story. What I'm saying is the world changes very fast, and you can't assume that because things are wrong right now that they will go on being wrong in the same way.
Right.
They can get worse. You know, they don't have to. This is not. It's not pie in the sky. It can get worse,
Right.
but it can also just change dramatically and be different.
Right.
And this is how history moves. It moves by radical changes, and so I'm expecting radical changes.
Good. Good.
Thanks.
Fundamentally, also, I think that this notion of stories and storytelling, and I'll be entirely honest here, I spent my life, telling stories. I've been publishing for 30 plus years. But this thing that we do with Narrative 4, where we bring young people together to exchange stories with one another, to me is as profound, if not more profound, than the work that I personally do as a novelist. And I think then in certain ways they dovetail together. And so when I think of you and I think of the power that you brought to the world, you've been able to tell people the story that they can actually inhabit. And the beauty of literature, and I want to ask you a further question. The beauty of literature seems to me that you can inhabit the life of someone else, but that it is essentially, in the weirdest way, non-violent, in the sense that you can go in and experience someone else's suffering and almost feel it vicariously, but not come away with the wounds. So that one of the beautiful things about literature is that it can become, philosophically engaged with absolute change.
Yeah, I think that's very beautifully said. What I think is that the great constant across time and across space is human nature. All of us, wherever we are in the world, whatever language we speak, in whatever century we live, our human nature is the same. This is why we can read, this is why we can still watch Shakespeare and understand it. Because human beings are human beings, and he shows us human beings.
Right.
It's why we can read books written in languages from cultures that we know nothing about, because the human beings in them speak to us. So the great thing about literature is that we deal with the essence, which is unchangeable, which is human nature,
Right.
and we try and understand that.
Yeah.
There's a line of Bellows where I read not in his books, but in something he said, where he said literature, the novel, I think, he said the novel has deep business at the roots of human beings. And I think that's what I've tried to live by.
So can we still save ourselves, Salman?
If we're lucky, but
How much work do we need to do?
I don't know, but just don't count on it.
Right.
I mean, all we can do is do the best we can,
Right.
and it'll never be good enough.
But that's powerful.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful that it will never be good enough.
Yeah, no, but I mean, but it might be quite good though.
Yeah.
I think I love the work that we do, and I love the world of the book. And I mean, it's the reason I became a writer is because I loved being a reader. And I think many writers are born out of readers, with the exception of V.S. Naipaul. I was once at a literary festival when Naipaul was being interviewed, and the interviewer asked him what books had inspired him, and he said, I'm not a reader, I'm a writer. And I thought, nonsense.
Absolute nonsense, because we get our voice from the voices of others.
Because, you know, I've always thought of this, what we do, as being like a relay race.
Yeah,
You know, you take it from here.
yeah,
And
exactly.
and you run your lap and you give it there.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful about it.
And some run, like you, Salman, run the fastest lap, and it has to be said. And I think it's tremendously powerful. I'm going to open it up to questions now, but I do want to say this, that you have been running and are still running the fastest lap for all of us. And I would love a huge round of applause for Salman Rushdie.